Yep.
Bro, so the reason I been doing like all of this different content, I've been like did that live stream, recorded an online course, made that rangi and papa print, a few other things too. Bro, I miscalculated my taxes last year.
Oh yeah.
Freaking stupid. Thought I was all good, and came to tax season this year, way off, bro. So I was like, oh, frick, okay. And then it usually tells you like 3 weeks, 3 weeks before it's due, how much is due. Bro, and I was down, freaking, good 20 something maybe.
Yep.
But I had crypto and like a bunch of other things. But what it did for me, bro, is just freaking boot up the ass, get my energy, and then actually a blessing in disguise. Now, sort of coming out on the other side of it, because it made me do all of these other things that I had been thinking about. Oh, Patreon was the other one too. And I would never have done them, or not never have done them, but it gave me the
push.
Yeah, the push, bro, because there was a deadline. So hurry up, you've got till this time to make this money. And then I don't know if it's the same with you, bro, but sometimes when I build something up in my head, it makes it harder to sort of start it, if you turn into this huge thing. But yeah, that happened with me. Anyway, where was I going with that? Was it I suppose, business, because it's something that all artists eventually have to think about, about making money and paying taxes and all that. Was that something that you had to learn alone, bro, like about doing your taxes and that, or did someone teach you that?
Yeah, definitely had to learn that. Well, yeah, me and my darling, sort of, she does that side of things for me, and I'm lucky that she does the crux of it. But yeah, we've had to learn that. Similar to your story, bro, like kind of the hard way, like, because, us as creatives, we want to pour all our time and energy into what we, create at the end of the day, and sort of that comes at the, that's a afterthought for us, is things like tax and stuff.
Yeah.
And, the mindset that I have, it's probably bad, is like, how can we get taxed on mataora Māori, like that kind of whakaaro is like always sits thing in my head, but I know we all got to pay tax.
Yeah, it's an interesting kōrero, and it's I don't know if it was like I've had conversations about going to school and how you're not taught that even at school. Not that it should be the responsibility of school, some of that probably should lie with the home, what would a life skill to know. But bro, yeah, I remember the first time I got hit with it, I was like 4 years behind or something, and it was like 30-something thousand. It might as well have been $1 million, bro. I was like, frick. This was
the whole youth there,
bro, straight up, like brand new, To cut a long story short, it was if you're an artist and you haven't sorted your taxes out, save yourself future blooming headache and heartbreak.
Yeah, bro.
And just get onto it. It sucks to learn if you're not that way inclined. But it's something that has to be done. It's an inevitability. There's no two ways about it, really.
Are you registered as sole trader or
sole
business?
Trader, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you heard of Henry?
I have.
Yeah.
That's what Sunny uses, her and her mum.
Oh, okay. Does she recommend?
It's alright, she said.
Yeah. Because my little brother's on it, and I think because of it saves a lot of hassle, I might jump onto it.
Yeah. Because I have an accountant, so I go through them. But to be honest, bro, like now the headache in that part of my life, professional life, is only a headache because I haven't been diligent about making systems around, like when I buy stuff, to make sure I sort of label things and just make it easier to sort of organize and go through all of that stuff. But but anyway, bro, obviously since the last time, huge transformation. You know, you got your blooming mataora done. Tell us about that, my bro.
Yeah, there's been a few things that's happened since then.
Yeah.
It's like 2-3 years ago, was it?
It was
20.
2 years ago. Yeah, it was before we moved over to Tawhanga. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We moved over maybe a few months after that.
Yeah, so there's maybe 3 or 4 things that have been major shifts in terms of how I've been, what I've done since. And yeah, mataora was a huge part of that. That was one of them. And getting married.
Yep.
Yeah. So on the takapo, and then started a hauora journey. Dropped quite a bit of weight, and so those 3 things together sort of is quite life changing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, external and internal.
Yeah. But yeah, mataora. So my tohunga was Henare Brooking, and we kind of collaborated on the design of my mataora. And me and my wife, we decided to do both of our moko papa separate at both of our homesteads. She was, because her homestead is down the road from where we live now.
Yeah.
We just bought a whare down the road.
Yeah.
And so I got done at home, and she got done at her homestead. And then the next day we got married, and so in that time we chose not to see each other. And so when she was walking down the aisle, that was the first time we got to see each other. So that was like a real special moment for us and the whānau. It was actually beautiful in terms of not just for our own sake. It was just a whole this whole resurgence of the takapo wharanui process as well is another reason why we decided to go that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's many things within that that was just, it's hard to talk about because it was just like so beautiful is the word that I have.
Yeah. Would have been from high emotions, overwhelming, I imagine.
Yeah. And you often hear about, weddings being high stress and all these things that go on, maybe negatively or it's just what comes with getting married in the process. But our whole lead up was pretty, I didn't mean to brag, but it was pretty smooth sailing for us, because what we had done was sort of not told anyone, not told either side of the whānau until we knew this is what we want to do. We held it all in until and sort of not held it all in, but held off telling our whānau, just so we can dial in all these little things first. And instead of just going, we're going to get married now, and then all the questions come, boom, boom, boom. We figured all those things out first, and then said, this is how we want to do it.
Yeah.
And because I think a big thing that led us that way was the research we were going through, and a lot of it was just popping up on Instagram, bro. Because, and YouTube. All social media is like was throwing all these suggestions to us at that time, and the main thing that everyone kept saying was do it your way, so you don't have any regrets. Or not regrets, but just things. It's there's a perception of how we have to do things sometimes because they've done it like that, and then generations ago they've done it like that. And that's cool. Like I'm not throwing shade on any of those, the way that they've done it, but this is just the way we chose to do it. And so the things that me and my wife I guess, vibe on, we chose to do those things.
Yeah.
And like we didn't have a traditional sit down wedding. We chose to have everyone sort of sitting, standing, barleaners, like a chill vibe.
Yeah.
And we really love music.
Yeah.
So we had a whole list of there was 3 bands that played for the night.
Yeah.
And we just decided to have a jam the whole night.
Yeah, see, why not, man?
Just to make it chill vibes, and we're suckers for live music, So
Yeah.
we had the bros Brotherhood music,
Yeah.
TJ and Hoodie, and Auntie Chrissy and that. So that was our lineup, and it was mean, bro. Like it was like we just couldn't have it any other way for us.
Yeah.
Dr. Anaha Hine, he married us. He's one of the ones that is instrumental in reviving the old Takapau Wharanui process of getting married. And then my brother-in-law Zach Homaha, part of the process is you taki whakapapai.
Okay.
And my brother-in-law Zach, he done my wife's side, and my uncle Murray, Uncle Murray, he done the whakapapa for my side, and then he joined the two together.
Whoa. And
just in that moment there, bro, it was like powerful, because we got married out at the Black Barn Tarawera, so the setting was really like amazing.
Yeah.
And just us standing in front of the maunga was powerful on its own. And then when you hear my brother-in-law and Uncle Murray sort of start up their taki whakapapa,
and then just pumping through it.
Just pumping through it, bro. It was just amazing. Dr. Anaha Hine, and then all the whānaus there. The hardest part actually was choosing 100 whānau members. on my own side, I got over 500 that I could have, and then we got her side. So that was actually the hardest part, was dwindling those numbers down to 100.
Yeah, bro. I imagine so.
That wasn't for our position actually. That's what the Black Barn can cater for.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Oh, and the other thing was kai. We got Terrace Kitchen. They sort of bring out in platters. We didn't have like a
so everyone has plates of,
and you sit down and the food's cold, already set up sort of thing. And so they just bring out platters. I don't know what you call it. But all this nice food, and so everything's hot and served to you sort of in snacky. Throughout, even we tried to not have speeches. But
impossible.
Impossible. So we just had our main ones. So Wallace, her old man, then my old man, siblings, and then. Because Tuihi was our MC.
Oh, of course, he's a bloody good MC.
Hilarious, right? If there's anything you can get from him, is he can tell a yarn, tell a story.
One of the best, storytellers.
I reckon he's pretty, in terms of making our day that much more special. He made it, bro. And when we originally thinking of getting married, and obviously you got to have an MC. He was at the top of our list. Yeah. And so it was pretty special to have him as well, because he can tie a crowd together easy.
Easy, bro. Reo Māori, Reo Pākehā.
Both sides. Yeah. He's just on. He's, funny, humorous, clever,
knowledgeable,
and he knows both sides.
Yeah,
he knew both sides of the whānau. So there's some good relationships there that he could sort of tie together.
Yeah.
And it was just mean, bro. Sorry, that went on.
No, that's good, bro. Tell me about Takapau Wharanui.
Yeah, so that as Dr. Anaha Hine, he says that was our traditional form of getting married. So we didn't have rings or anything. Actually, mataora was our even though I still got a ring. It was just to keep the wife
Combo
happy.
of both worlds. Yes.
But my ring was this. And you would come together. As I mentioned, whakapapa was a huge part of the ceremony. And then you'll come together and essentially sleep on the whariki in front of the iwi, do the deed, and then
true. Yep, like that old school. Yeah.
Obviously, we didn't do it in front of the in front of the iwi. We sort of waited for the night time, and then
you keep what you keep, and you just leave what you leave.
It's a modern process. Even though I probably still would have done. No. Man's not shy now. But that's if we're trying to, I don't want to say the word,
I think
decolonize, if we're trying to push for, I'll just say, just be Māori, like just do
trying to be
what
yourself
the Māori does, So that was a whole part of our process, and then obviously when we decided to get our mataora and our cowboy, it added to that process. And so,
Bro, tell me about that collaboration with you and Nutty. Because I remember when I first seen those photos of your father's wedding, and I seen your mataora, I was like, who the hell did it? Because it looked like one of your ones. And I was like, I'm sure he didn't just mirror it, just look in the mirror and then do it. So tell me about that process, bro. Collabing with Nutty.
It was super interesting going through that process, because there were some things that he didn't really tell me in a good way before it happened. Anyway, so when I sort of initially put my tono for him to do my mataora, he come back to me with a yes. He gave me his blessing, and he said, "Yeah, I'll do it." But send me through a SketchUp of how you would do it.
Oh,
and so
was that surprising?
Yeah,
we were like, oh,
it was, because I fully had.
Yeah,
I didn't want to tell him what to do.
Whatever you.
Just the normal things of how we go through those processes. I was going to leave it all up to him.
Yeah.
But he sort of insisted that I do something. And so I done something up. And I sort of thought, this is how I'll do it. But I'm not locked into it or anything. Or doesn't mean that you have to do what I want. But in the meantime of us going through that process, he had been doing a few wānanga e te papa with the moko, and they, through their research, they had realised that maybe this one particular head or mataora or moko, they realised that he could have been his own artist. And so, and you could have seen it in stages. So there was a newer, fresher part of the moko that was, and so and with that research, they knew that he come back at different times.
To get
and then I think they found some drawings of the particular mataora, and so that told them that. Maybe he drew his own moko and got someone else to ultimately apply it. In a nutshell, that's sort of how it went. There was more pieces to the puzzle, but this is what he after the fact he told me. And he was,
so after you had got on yours, he told you.
It wasn't until the day when he started, following my tauira that I gave to him. He it kind of surprised me, because I didn't expect them to follow it exactly. and then
So is it exactly what you drew?
yeah, pretty much.
Wow, true.
Yeah. And so where was I going? I just
Was he
went blank.
talking about? You're talking about the day when when he's telling you about that moko and all that, and how he was.
Oh yeah,
probably-
so through his research, that's what he come up with, and what he was ultimately comfortable with, and that in itself was a huge, to give yourself up to someone else's tawhanga is a huge thing.
especially someone like him.
Yeah. But it was through his research that he knew, I can do this.
This is a thing.
Yeah. And because he did say it was hard for him, and so I commend him even more for doing that, because I wouldn't even be able to follow my own tawhanga, like even if I drew it,
Yeah. From
it
your
was-
own hand, let alone someone else's one.
So he broke it down, bro, and did that, and I was just again blown away.
Yeah.
And for that to happen the day before your wedding, like is another, you're still getting over this, and then you got to do this,
Ah, that bro.
So yeah, no, that's how that becomes. There's more to the story, but
Yeah, that's the gist of it. Yeah, wow. Oh, that's good to know, because I was wondering, I was thinking he saw your style and then made his own, like, sort of interpretation of what he thought you might make.
Yeah.
But yeah, now hearing the story, it's even more fascinating,
Yeah, and then because after that he told me the whole his reasoning, and then it sort of clicked with me straight away too, because my journey in terms of mataora is a long journey, but where I'm at now is I'm actually looking at those older styles as well, and sort of trying to revive or do them my way. Or not renew them, but what do you call it? Give them some more a newfound appreciation.
Yeah. Well, that fits in with everything else that you do. You look at just your moko in general. There's obviously huge whakairo influence, and then like following your journey over however many years now, and seeing the stuff that you post that isn't your own mahi. It's usually of whakairo, all over the motu, like all over the place. And then it's funny, right, because you'll just post a photo or maybe just a little video, and I feel like I know what you're saying or what you're thinking just from posting it, and just sort of knowing you, how much I know you, because it's and then it shows through your work. It's just like, I reckon he looked at that and just went, okay, what the hell's going on there? And like I can sort of, it feels like I can hear your mind trying to understand what you're looking at, and then sort of like trying to think about the Tawhanga who did it. Get far out. What was going through their head when they were making it? Is that?
Yeah, bro. That's totally what every sort of, even looking at quote unquote not as aesthetically pleasing stuff. I still try and break it down and ask what works, and what doesn't work for me, and why is it like that. So within that process, you learn maybe what that Tawhanga was doing at that time. So I'm constantly breaking down whatever particular whakairo or Tawhanga or whatever I'm looking at the time, trying to break it down and wonder how they did it. And within that there lies heaps of answers, but what that transition after that is it's how do you do it in your own way?
Yeah.
And sort of your process is what guides you.
Yeah, bro. That's interesting. I remember an important lesson I learned in high school, and remember doing art in high school, and you had to do like those portfolios. I don't know if it was the same at Boys High when you were there, but probably was. And you had to like paint and draw like chess pieces and all of that. And I remember it made no sense to me all the way through until my last year at high school. And then we had a substitute teacher because our original teacher, she was away sick for months and months. And this new substitute teacher, she explained it, bro, what the whole point of us even making what we were making was. And it was to find our own style. Without saying it, I don't know if she actually said that, which is pretty much what you're doing. And she said, and how you do it as a student in school is you find artist models, and ideally the artists that you like, whose work you like. And at the start of your portfolio, whether it be 2 boards or 3 boards in your last year, you make the influences explicit, which is to say the work that you make pretty much looks like it's their work, you know. And you do that to try and understand their thinking. You also read and look at research and look at their work and hopefully find what goes through their mind when they create what they create. And then as you go through the portfolios, you sort of amalgamate and sort of combine the different influences that you look up to. And then you make something new and you put your own sort of, I suppose, history of lessons that you've learnt into this stuff. And then voila, you've made something new that's your own. So now, you know, when you look at bone carving, moko in all its forms, I can tell when you did it, you know, and I can tell that your influences are old because it's got that look to it, you know, but it still look like your own, you know. I could see a million different moko, and I reckon if, you know, there was a few of them were your ones, I'll probably be able to tell which ones are your ones, because it's you've from all of your different influences you've looked up to, whether you knew them or not, whether you whakapapa to them or not, you sort of can't help but be influenced by them, and then but have your own sort of fresh style that's you know what I mean?
Yeah, that because there's many ways to skin a cat, and what there's even if you we're talking about trying to get into the minds of our influences and try and break down how they done it. But even if you break it right down and sort of like calculated everything, all this, you still wouldn't be able to do what they did, because you have even just physically you don't have the same sort of stroke or the same sort of way you hold a pencil, like just right down to. So it's not about like recreating what they've done, but like it's getting into maybe how they think about it, or the minds of why they went that way. Because even with this piece, right, like I've been looking at our old toko that has been carved like this, and I tried my hardest to sort of not replicate, but like to get a specific flow on the way that it looked. And sometimes when you try too hard, it doesn't come out as what you think. And then I had a little waranga with my old man, and he gave me a little. It actually had nothing to do with that particular piece, but he, what do you call it? Was just talking about a few different things that were different in that time frame of when those tohunga, right down to the tools and why they would mould that way, is because the shape of the chisels was inverted compared to the ways that that new modern day chisels, and so for the brow to have this certain look on this, they used tools that are no longer available now.
Okay.
And so it automatically, you don't get to pull that look off.
Yeah.
So it's about, now we're trying to modify our tools to get that look back.
Yeah.
You know, so
It's the total opposite for them.
Yeah. So there's little things like that, and just like little maybe pointers when you think about, say if we what's a like a body called, like, what do you call
Torso.
it? A torso? No, like anatomy.
Oh, anatomy.
Yeah, that's
Anatomy
what I was looking for. So when you break down the proportions of anatomy, it's sort of generally you go, you know, that big, that much, and then that much for the legs.
Yeah.
While in the specific style of Ngāti Tarawhai, they go half head, and then half is the torso and legs.
Oh, it's the rest of the body. Yeah.
So half and half. That's how they break their proportions down.
Yeah, see?
And there's kōrero within that, is because they believe that the upoko's the most tapu wahanga o te tinanai, and so they decided to make this specific style tarawhai and give the big heads,
Make it
that
significant,
big head look. Yeah, and then because I was wondering how do before I knew this, I was wondering how do you fit the popo in those dimensions and get that look.
Yeah.
And I could see it right in front of me, but without knowing that knowledge, you never, it never quite clicked.
You never quite know. Yeah.
So in the roundabout way, there's ways you naturally do things, and then once you hear something or gain a little bit of knowledge. And sometimes that's on the pathway, and it's not what you know first. Yeah. And you learn it through doing things. Ultimately, that's what helps you in the, I guess, the gaining of your style.
Yeah.
All these little things that like can tweak.
Yeah.
Can tweak what you ultimately come up with.
Yeah. Bro, do you ever think about? Because I think about that. You know, you have tarawhai style, and I remember my dad telling me when I went to sort of just start my learning journey about carving, like wood carving, but he's done it long before we came along, and only now as a blooming 33-year-old have I decided to go and finally learn from him. And then he did this drawing of a popo, and he sort of told me about some of the characteristics of from what he was taught of a tūhoi style like head, like a wheku style head. And he's talking about like the mouth, top and bottom are like the same proportions, and then like the brow and then the top of the head are like the same proportions as well. I was like, oh yeah, gee, that's fascinating. But then I think about like how much do you think about how there's these defining characteristics of different iwi or hapu for all forms of toi, you know, whether it be carving, and then like how much of you thinks about making sort of like going outside of those sort of parameters and going, oh, what if I had like a head that was even bigger than that? Yeah. You know, and then like,
I get what
you know,
mean.
like what if I changed the proportions again? You know, like how
I think about that all the time, bro. Yeah. That's like, again, going back to finding your thing, because I say that what my old man taught me about the proportions, that it's not the end all of things, because there's examples where that doesn't happen. If you look back at the old stuff and you know lay out all these different generations and or different ringawhao or tohunga, they done things differently in their times too, And if you look at the whakapapa of our general line, we go back to like Wero Tāroe, Tēnei Waitere, Iramiha, those anaha, those tohunga.
Yeah.
And you can see through all of those different that they have their own ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And then times changing, because at Wero's time, he was sort of the end of waka builders.
Okay.
Before all the whare wananga or whare tupuna come in, so they went from building waka. We were waka builders before building whare tupuna.
Yeah.
And so that change was significant.
Yeah.
And then at that time also metal chisels coming.
Yeah, true.
So they went from stone to metal, and you could see that the process got a lot faster. The intricacy got a lot more,
Yeah.
detailed and stuff like that. And so that's naturally gonna change a iwitanga style, and then put yourself in there, or whoever the tohunga was at the time.
Yeah.
They're gonna experiment too.
Yeah.
And things might drop off.
Yeah.
But we've picked up a new way of doing things. But there's always that baseline thing that might be that just a little thing that goes, that's a tini.
Yeah.
And obviously he was from Tarafa. So I always think about those things,
bro,
bro.
yeah.
Like I as you say, I always love to look at old things. But the question is, how do you make it your own?
Yeah.
And do it in your way.
Yeah.
And going back to the process and how you're talking about upwards in high school, this is how I started this is when I started thinking about my own style, because there's my art board over there. That's my level 3, and I got went on a tour because I got scholarship. I got in the top 5% of yeah.
That was me too.
Yeah. See, so like that whole board was based on Rangi Kippa's mahi.
See, look, that was your exploration right there.
Yeah, and so it was when I first started noticing his mahi. I knew that he was different.
Yeah,
and I knew that he had a little bit more what do you call it? Oomph in him, like just a little swag. Like he just had a little bit more, because it was just like nothing I had ever seen.
It was like that last 10%, bro. Hey, like he was the ultimate finisher.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and you could just in his pieces, you could see that he had his processes unlocked. He was experimenting, and he was just doing what other people didn't want to do, or weren't maybe thinking of going, because going to places where no one else wanted to go.
Yeah.
And so I based my whole board off Rangi Kippa in the beginning of this year. Was the first time I met him properly.
Was that your first time meeting him?
I had shook his hand a couple other times.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like he knew me.
And was that at his place, eh?
Yeah.
That was at his
And so we went down to the New Zealand tattoo. Is the New Zealand tattoo festival?
The one in
the New Plymouth, eh?
Plymouth.
Taranaki, yeah.
Bro, what? Tell me about that, bro. What was that like?
And so me and Te Wihi, we went down to represent moko.
Yeah.
And little did I know that he had jacked up us to go and just catch up with him. And it just so happened to be he was standing out on the road talking to one of his whānau members that just pulled over. And as we were driving past, he got a phone call. Oh no, Te Wihi rang him. Up to Chief. And we were just on the phone and he's waving out like this. We're going, oh, like
The
it
chances,
was like, yeah, it was like, yeah, it felt like a miracle. Anyway, yeah, he takes us in home and I like, we went down for the tattoo festival, but I didn't want to leave.
Oh, of course not, bro.
I wanted to stay
Kid in a
Palme.
candy store, I bet.
Yeah. And anyway, we were only there for a little bit. We just went in for catch up and sort of just have a cup of tea. I mean, because we had to go and set up our gears.
Yeah.
So we took off and then he invited us back for dinner. And then that's when he pulled out all this. He went into the safe and pulled out all of his mahi that he's done over the years and what he's got left.
Yeah.
And the point at where he's at in his career now is sort of he's actually buying back some of his older pieces that he's done because he's gotten to this point where he's realised he's carved all these things for everyone else, but he has nothing of his own.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, so just hearing him say that is like, oh, okay, you know, like we do things for everyone else, but and we come last, kind of thing. So just trying to think about that now as I where I'm at in my career now.
Yeah,
sort of
still early.
Yeah. Think about, you know, holding something for you, for your whānau, instead of just you know, giving it out to the world.
Yeah, that's a good lesson, eh?
Yeah. But yeah, there was just the meeting him, bro. There was heaps of things that I learnt, and one of the things that I took away from him was just the mentality thing, bro. It was like, you know, he's been in the game for this long, but still relevant in my eyes. It's still relevant, or in everyone's eyes, I think. But his hunger, bro, just he's still pushing boundaries. He still wants to do that, and like his one of his famous sayings is like, what is it? Something along the lines of, "I'm not here to be average." You know, like I wanna do something, so go and do it. You know,
yeah, bro.
So
Ooh, I freaking love that.
I can't recall the actual. It's actually funny, but like it sort of hit me in that time. I was like, fuck yeah, true. There's no use sitting around twiddling your thumbs to do something, you know.
Sort of like you're not here to participate, eh? You're not here to just try. Like if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it to the best of your ability, eh?
Yeah.
Bro. So that fella, when we were at the mataora bloomin' symposium or whatever you called it, or whatever
Meora Kaora, eh?
Meora Kaora. Bro, and then when Rangi spoke, because like I felt freaking lucky ass to get to ask him a question. And because I remember talking to you like later on, and we were both like, man, I could have just went all day just asking questions.
We were the only ones who was asking.
I think we were the only ones, bro. Yeah, and I was like,
I think I got 2 in, and maybe you.
I think I got 2 in as well.
Yeah.
I got 1 to him and 1 to Mark. Mark, bro. And I remember like asking Rangi, and my mind was just like, there's a million more things I could ask, you know, and like, I want you to go as deep as you want to go, like as detailed as you want, because this is exactly the sort of wisdom I'm hungry for. And then I just felt like looking around us there, like I was like, how is no one else like frothing to ask him something?
Hard.
And then anyway, because I remember asking him about you know, was it scary to sort of push those boundaries in that back when they were sort of in the early days of bringing moko back and all of those things, and sort of the same message from him and all of those Tawhanga from that era, which was you have to be courageous and you might not need all of the support from everyone around you, but having support from anyone around you, you know, could be just one person, who just says, "Nah, you're doing the right thing," or, you know, even if everyone else disagrees and think you should stop, you know, to carry on.
Yeah. See, we got it easy, bro.
Ever.
What we, you know, where we're at now.
Yeah.
And that's a whole part of why we're able to push more, you know, more, because they've done all the groundwork, bro. They, you know, I'll give it up to those fellas. We're so lucky for them. They, you know, set a good foundation, good platform for us to bounce off.
Yeah, hard.
But yeah, there you go. There's your next podcast, bro. Rangi Kapa. Surely.
Bro, he actually sent an invite, you know, if I was ever down those ways to let him know, just to you know, just have a catch up. It was at that mataora actually. Yeah. And I was, bro, inside I was just like, what?
Yeah.
You know, and then because he was sitting right next to Keanu, as Keanu was doing moko, and then Keanu looked calm and collected. And then when Rangi left later on in the day, and then I was talking to Keanu, and I just thought, yeah, he must know him well as well. He's like, bro, no, I was sitting here freaking out. Why the hell is he sitting right next to me? You know? And I was like, bro, of course, I would have been sweating too. I'm sweating watching you. You know? That's not no blimmin' mere mortal in this sort of realm of what we do. You know, and then sort of to go on further, like this is still on the Rangi topic, because freaking love his mahi and his philosophies. I remember I was just drawing, bro, and then I it's like, hey, let me listen to a podcast. Let's see if there's one that Rangi's in. And then there was one that he was a guest in, and it was Darcy Nicholas, I think, was the other one.
I did watch that.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And then just listening to what he was saying, bro, and I was just like, yes. And then I sort of got super inspired, and I was drawing some of his tiki and stuff, just as like drawing exercises. Yeah. You know, what we were talking about before, you know, try and get in their mind.
That whole board based of
bro. And then sort of listening to him and what I've gathered from other creative people that I look up to, who are not in this world, you know, not in Te Ao Māori at all. Like what we were talking about earlier, like about Rick Rubin, about you know, a creative act, making art that you want to make, you know, stuff that gets you going.
His what do you call it, inspiration always hits me, because I like the way he just breaks it down so clear and like easy, like he doesn't have heaps of flash words, but it's like he's reading my mind, because that's how I want to say it in my head, but it doesn't come out that way. But yeah, he's another genius in terms of being creative. Like, I love everything that he says.
Hard out. And it reminds me, bro, of like my younger teenage years, when I was at one of my most sort of creative times. I think I was like, there was just so many cool influences around me. Like that was when Crump was huge. I freaking loved Crump, bro. Graffiti, it wasn't huge, but I was super interested in it. So heaps of my influences were graffiti people, like painters, cartoons and all of these things. But I remember I would just doodle all the time, bro. And like felt like every sort of doodle I made was just like pure exploration and like curiosity. And then like to lead into listening to that podcast with Rangi, where I ended up branching off and drawing like these freaking tiki with like gas masks in it, like influence from that time. And then I thought about like how you've seen Popo and they have like a pipe in their mouth or like a top hat on, you know, like signs of that time. I was like, oh, why can't this have a sign of this sort of modern time? Just obviously just exploration, but it was fun, you know?
Yeah. It's funny that you talk about the pipes and the top hats as well, because one of our tupuna tene, they started doing that.
Is he?
Yeah, and then they were doing the boots as well.
There's
There's a book about how they, you know, were in that time and influenced by what people were wearing and stuff, and because there was a question, like there was heaps of people asking about why is this particular whakaaro wearing a top hat.
Yeah.
And it was just simply because that's what they seen in that time.
Yeah.
And then, we'll carve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I like that, bro. Bro, anyway, from an elephant in the room, where are we, bro?
Oh, yeah.
We haven't even talked about probably been an hour now. Almost an hour.
So I'm lucky enough to be given the opportunity to sort of use one of the facilities at my wife's kura. Big shed out the back. It actually used to be the old Tawhanga Aotearoa, back in the days when my mum was teaching here. And I put a history in this building. Like, I started my art degree here. And so, sort of funny how history repeats itself. Well, it's not repeating, but, history happens that we're now back in here sort of on carving,
Yeah.
somewhere to be creative, make a mess, and sort of at the same time have an opportunity to teach the kids to come over for just to learn a little bit about what I'm doing. And I think the last podcast that we're doing, that's when I started.
Yeah, bro, yes, yes.
And I was taking ko whaiwhai wānanga with the kids, and that was super cool. Because that was one of the first times I actually got to teach kids and sort of figure out how to actually do it.
Yeah.
And it was successful, bro, like in terms of, I actually learnt a lot more about myself going through that, like how do you, this is just my head, how do you teach a kid
how do you, bro?
like, or keep them engaged? And just going through that whole process was cool. But like I've been in here for about 2-3 years now, just carving, mainly parawa, so whalebone and teeth. But it's just a space where I can do be creative and do things like ko whaiwhai, and just whatever. Whatever I want, really. There's a big space, like we can
space for everything in here.
Yeah, like we were talking about before, like it's good to have a space away from home as well to be creative. So I find myself trying to be here and more than at home sometimes. Just when you want to get those ideas out of you, show up instead of having to set everything up at home and then
it can stay set
back
up,
it down. Just to have a space where you can come and hands-on stuff.
Bro, and how? Oh, sorry to cut you off.
No.
How would I say it? How much has sort of branching off and doing like bone carving and carving prawa helped your moko, bro?
Oh, huge. I think I said it on the last podcast too, because I was saying maybe 2 or 3 years in at that time, but
you've grown heaps since then.
Because I think I was trying to think of how to break it down even further. Is when you start carving, because essentially when you're doing moko, it's 2D, because you're putting it onto a 3D cylinder or whatever anatomy, and that's already been carved per se, like and so you're just doing something 2D. But then when you start carving, there's things that you you learn in terms of making something 3D, and when you gotta do this is the top of a toko that I'm carving at the moment, and this will sit on a piece of wood, maire, and just having to go right around it and carve out what you would normally draw with light and shade or on the pencil or whatever paint if you would paint it. But to actually physically carve it into a 3-dimensional thing, is, you learn. Obviously, you've got to use the tools to do it, but then you learn different ways of how you actually have to draw it.
Yes.
As well, because you don't draw it how you would draw it 2D.
Yeah.
Because when you're drawing 2D, you're trying to, what do you call it? It's kind of like you're visualizing what's meant to be there in a 3D form on a 2D flat piece of paper. So when you draw things, because it's going to be cut out, you just have guiding lines and stuff like that. You have to push the carving to that spot.
Yes.
Whereas you don't put your final drawing in because it's not going to look like that at the end.
Yeah. It's always going to be carved out,
until you finish your molding and stuff like that.
So
It's taught me a lot and breaking down, and because this one has a mataora on it, breaking down simple forms of the facial features and stuff
all
like
the
that.
different ridges and all of that.
And what I've noticed is sometimes the mataora guides where I'm gonna go. In terms of the molding, and then sometimes the guiding. The molding is gonna guide where the mataora goes.
Yes.
So like, just that little thing, learning facial features.
Yeah.
And then when you gotta mold the actual face, do you mold it to the moko or do you mold the moko to the face?
Yeah, that makes total sense to me, my bro.
So you learn different things.
So is the molding the overall sort of shape of the whole thing?
Yeah.
Is that called molding? Okay.
And then you start thinking in shapes and stuff like that.
I heard this interesting thing. This was back in 2013 when I was studying art at Wintec, and then I had just started exploring with sculpture, like clay, and then I found this fellow on YouTube. Simon Lee is his name, I think, and he works in like movie and television industry, making little clay sculptures for like character designs and things like that. And he said one of the most simple but impactful messages, and it was people always complaining like I can't sculpt, I can only draw 2D, and he goes, if you can draw you can sculpt. Sculpting is just drawing on different planes. You're drawing from the front, drawing from the side, drawing from the back. And if you know what they're supposed to look like from the front, every angle around it, you just keep shifting whatever your material is, whether it be clay or wood or whatever. Obviously the methods are different, but keep moving it until it looks like how you know it should look like. And I was like, far out, that's cool. And it sort of removed that pressure of feeling like you had to know anatomy real well before trying to sculpt a face or a person. Pretty much just said like, no, you just do it. And if you are around a lot of carvers, will say that if you can draw it, you can carve it. Like, and I didn't know what that meant until I started carving, and I was like, it's just like where you would shade it is actually where you take material kind of cut
thing.
it.
But even when you talk about simplifying the shapes and stuff, or the sculpture, when it comes to whakairo, in terms of the way that our tupuna done it, they simplified everything, and they put it down to its real basic version. That's why you see tiki.
True.
Like it's just a real basic. It's got eyes, it's got a mouth, it's got a nose, it's got ears. It's got hands, it's got legs. And so like that process in itself, when you start learning about that and how they come up with it, was like you don't know. It blows your mind. Like, how do you? Anyway.
And it's turned into its own sort of visual language.
So you'll look at this,
Yeah.
Because it's a real simple face, eh?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have like the jawline. Oh,
Yeah,
it does
yeah,
have a jawline, but it's real flat.
Yeah.
That's if we're going back to style, that's the way that Tarawhais like to do it, because what their whakaaro is, they put all the emphasis in the moko.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the moko will make the face talk.
Yeah.
You know?
See, look at that, man.
So they didn't have to like really make a true face. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was just the gist of a face, eh?
It will bring out all the wrinkles, all the contours and all that.
Yeah.
It was just an idea of a face. You know, no one's face actually looks like that, but you can read it. It's a face.
You know it's a face, yeah.
And then they chose to put more emphasis in the moko.
Yeah, okay.
So you'll see, if you look into the history of Tarawhai carvers, you'll come across the tāmoko panel that Tene Waitere done.
Okay.
And so he's one of the first ones, maybe not the first, but to recorded to ever start experimenting with real life facial features. And making things tilt on an angle like a 3D face,
instead of just looking straight ahead.
And tilting it onto an angle. And because if you look at all the old style of whakairo, they're facing forward, or you know, everything's facing forward. But that was his intrusive mind going, what if we go like this? You know, like, and then that changes up things. And you get a different view. You know, you can do a whole cheek instead of just doing the front. In terms of a mataora. So it's crazy to think how they thought it. Like,
bro.
Sometimes real simple, but and it's smacking you in the face when you've got ideas. But then you do great things like that. How they were.
You know how you got all of these influences from the old world, or, you know, from Tawhanga from back in the days. Do you have do you look at like modern stuff that often, like for inspiration, or even stuff like from other countries in that?
I had this yarn to one of my uncles. I'm working on a pūhoro at the moment, and we got to a certain point of the pūhoro, and I was doing the style, and I was doing these manaia, and they're in the negative form in terms of visually. They're in the negative form, and they're in a piha style, and so they look kind of like old calligraphy. What do you call the Egyptian style?
Like hieroglyphics.
Yeah. And so I was influenced to do that style from Transformers. Yeah. And what I seen, how all the hieroglyphics were coming up when they're reading their reo, or whatever their symbols are.
Yeah, their Cybertron reo,
Yeah. So I got inspiration to do that style from that, from watching Transformers, and that's one of my favorite the movie series and all that
bro,
of all time. And like that's one example of what can pull different whakaaro out of you. But then again, putting your twist on it.
Always. I
don't know if that's modern or what, because there's actually old hieroglyphics.
True. Suppose in the sci-fi world, it's blooming anything.
Another artist
spacey
that I've been like really into and like digging his stuff is he's from Seoul.
Oh, okay.
What do you call
Korea? South Korea?
Yes, they're Korean too. I think I don't actually know his name, but his handle on Instagram is Pitak.
Okay.
I think
you've been sharing his stuff, The colourful.
I think his name's Peter or Pita or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, their traditional style with all the color and all the it's kind of mandala-ish, like it's all very floral, I guess.
Yeah, sort of reminds me of
some of his stickers.
Reminds me of
stuff.
Tibetan.
I bought a scarf from him.
Oh yeah.
But bro, I love his style. I'm not influenced by his color because I choose to stay in black these days.
Yeah.
But well, I am. Like, I still love the color part of it, but like just the way he it's like Koha, the pattern making and everything like that is all influenced by their traditional art forms, and then he's made it modern. And just the way he processes that, and then his whole feel and swag about how he does things is cool too.
Bro, it's super visually striking.
Yeah.
He's got all of the technical ability to pull it off as well, which would be bloody hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to get like
the way
lost
he
in it.
lays colour in,
Yeah, bro. It's bloody hypnotizing.
Yeah, it's like, we think we get a mean line with just lining with black.
With black, only black.
Yeah, we're buzzing it in, and then he's doing it with all the colours.
All of the colours, and he's fitting them in right.
Yeah.
That they're not clashing with each other. They're sort of harmonious.
I've noticed though he's got some pretty nice skin to work on. Like, quite fair. Like, for the colours anyway. But I've also seen he's done some quite tanned skin.
Yeah.
And it still holds. Like, I don't know what needles he uses or what inks.
Yeah.
Those are the things he doesn't give out, Like, and that's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll just mesmerised from this stuff.
Yeah, bro. Nah, I have seen you sharing that full of stuff. Bro, and it's that's one of the benefits of living in the time that we live in compared to our tipuna, is we can be influenced by people who live in South Korea. Can be influenced by all of these, like the world, if you happen to find the right artist, or or the right movies, like freaking Transformers, that you just see it in the right way, and you're just like, man, that's cool. It could be fascinating to you, and you can't know how it's going to influence you, until you look back and you realize, oh, far out, that stuff that I made, whether consciously or not, was actually influenced by that, and I never thought that would happen. But here we are. But mean, my bro, I think there was a pretty good exploration, sort of covering some of what we got up to over the last couple of years since our last podcast, and I'm glad we got to talk about like influences, because that's what fascinates me most about artists. It's like, man, if that's what you make, what influences have made you make that? Because I want to know, because that stuff is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, a lot of people see the end result or end product, but that's the key, bro. Is like learning what's out, like what are they thinking out here. That's how you really get to learn something. Is like looking at what they look at, and just it's more the process, not the end product. The process, Me and my bro. Oh well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you fellas enjoyed this. Number 3. I'm sure we'll do this again, brother. In another 3 years.
We'll do it when we feel like doing the next one, my bro. But got any last message you want to share?
No, but I want to thank you for my little koha that you have presented here. Talk to us a bit about this, bro.
Nah, you're welcome, brother. I had to. So the first episode we did together, this fella gave me something, and it should have been the other way around. And I was supposed to give him a printer, and I forgot it that day. I ended up sending it at a later date. But anyway, this is perfect. I suppose it's perfect context, because this is influence. So when I was listening to, so last year I went through like a creative rut, where I felt like my mahi was just work, and it wasn't fulfilling as much as I know it had been and could be. And then I thought, man, do I have to just get like a regular job and then do art on the side just so I can still enjoy art? Because I stopped making art just for the sake of it. It was just mahi. But then I listened to Rick Rubin, and he said, you know, make stuff that you want to make, whatever you're curious about. And at the time I was blimmin' hard out into this artist Tom Sachs, the American fella, and he makes sculpture mostly, but he makes paintings as well, and they look like this. They kind of look like little schematics, you know, like little diagrams with writing all over them, and I really liked it. I was like, man, sort of second guessing myself making it or making this sort of style of art, but then I was like, no, stuff it, I'll just make it just for myself, just for fulfillment. And I made these paintings, and then since our last one, and then knowing that I was coming here, it's like, man, what do you give someone who already has all of the frickin' you know, like toi Māori stuff? I was like, I know, I'll give him something that all of the toi Māori fellas can't give him, which is a painting that has got nothing to do with toi Māori. And put this little I'll read this little message, because I think this sort of encapsulates you as an artist as well. So, an artist's tool allow him to make his dreams a reality. They change the way we see the world, universe, and ourselves. The tools in this painting are part of the legacy of a great Tawhanga. And that, like, poetry is another thing that I like too. So that was sort of drawing from my enjoyment of poetry. And I think it sort of encapsulates you well, bro. You know, I can tell you're someone who creates out of curiosity, appreciation, admiration for your influences, and like I feel like you're a person who makes because you don't want to waste it. You know, you don't want to waste all of that mataora that's been passed down, and you've got the torch now, and you're like, man, I'm gonna stoke this torch up as bright and hot as I can, so that when I pass it on, whoever wants to take on the torch next, they've got a head start, you know, and then they can go add some more craziness to it, you know. So thank you, my brother.
Thank you for those words. Yeah, and so that's a diagram of some of the machines I've used over the years, and it's a real cool piece that I'm going to hang up at home. But here's the whakapapa of machines here, and so they were based off all the machines that I've used over the years. And if you didn't listen to the last podcast, that was the last podcast.
That was the last podcast we did, yep.
Talked about all the machines that we've used over the years. And so we have Seth Safari, Fastback,
Aaron Kane,
Damascus, and then the other one, that's the FK Irons over here, Cheyenne Hawk, and the Fluxes. I'll still use that one, so it's still in the cabinet. But yeah, sort of, I didn't have any want to like display my machines like this, but I seen a post on Instagram. I was like, oh no, that's actually cool.
Yeah.
And you gotta, because I was gonna sell all my machines. Because you didn't use them. Yeah, didn't use them, and they were just sitting there. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh no, actually that's a part of the journey.
Yeah, that's the whakapapa right there.
That's the whakapapa. So yeah, decided to put them on a bit of a stand, and have it as a display so people can, you know, see it.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah. And then obviously once I done this, then Uncle Huahua and Tuihi wants one, so I had to make them one too. But yeah, you know, thank you.
Man,
appreciate
thank
it.
you, my brother. See you fellas in the next one. Cheers.